as every frontman should be, I'm the worst musician in the band. The one time that I counted all of the emails that I've sent and didn't get responses to, that was a moment where I was like, dang, wow. Generally, the ideas for the songs come from something that I'm writing about, and then I will take it to the band and I'll say, hey guys, here's a really crappy idea. Let's make it so much better. Another good piece of advice that I got was, if you can't play it on an acoustic instrument, then it's not worth recording, which that's a hot take. Like the two remixes that did well because of TikTok, that was kind of annoying. I was like, these are remixes. They're not even like my song. I miss the days where artists could be artists, and I never even lived in those days. 95% of what I do is business and social media. 5% of what I do is performing and writing music. I have sang the national anthem a few times. I did it at the Columbus Crew. I sang the national anthem in an arena for the NCAA Women's Division I semifinals. I was offered to sing the national anthem at the Savannah Bananas game, but I can't. We have a show that day already. Oh, it just killed me because I was like, oh.
Are you a music artist trying to find a way to get your music on as many streaming platforms as possible? Then check out DistroKid. DistroKid is a super user-friendly and super easy-to-use service that will make your music available in stores like Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon Music, YouTube, Snapchat, everything. Everything you could imagine, it's available. People will even be able to add your songs into their Instagram stories. DistroKid helps you with the distribution, monetization, and promotion of all of your music. Use the link in the description of this video for 7% off any DistroKid package you want. Pick from musician packages designed to help artists get their own music out there, or even get a label package where you can manage up to 100 artists from one profile. So that's more for like managers, labels, and you can also get the musician package that I mentioned earlier, which is more for artists, producers, things like that. It's super easy, and you can get 7% off any package right now with the link in the description of this video. So once again, if you're looking for a way to get your music on as many streaming platforms as possible, I'm talking any platform you can think of, get DistroKid and get 7% off right now with the link in the description. Back to the program.
He's the lead singer of an alt-pop four-piece from Columbus, Ohio, mixing energetic pop with singer-songwriter vibes. Please welcome Adam Paddock to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing so well. So excited to be here.
Yeah, excited to have you on. We were just talking a bit just now about, like, the astronomers, 502s, and so, like, I definitely, from listening to your stuff, from talking with you now, get that, like, happy, energetic vibe from you as well.
Thank you, man. I just try to bring the good vibes. I mean, there's definitely a way to convey like heavier songwriting in a way that's like packaged with very positive production. So yeah, I'm glad that you caught that vibe.
Yeah, awesome. And so going back to the start, what was your first experience with music like, or what made you first get into wanting to make music?
Yeah, man, my journey's been so different. I had a cool opportunity growing up playing in band. So I played trumpet and baritone. And so I was a brass boy right off the bat, but nobody really knew that. I was more of an athlete than I was a musician. And so nobody knew that I was in the band much. I was known as the baseball or soccer guy. And then I auditioned for my show choir my senior year of high school, and that was the first time I'd sung in front of anybody. And it went actually really well. I was named a top 25 soloist in the nation, and I was a part of a internationally acclaimed show choir called Loveland by Request. And I was a soloist, which is super fun. So that's kind of how I got started singing in front of people. And then, yeah, that was just that's so much to unpack, but that was such a good time. And then I started with my band performing for our first concert ever, opening for Waka, Flocka, Flame, and Max. So kind of random, but it was a really good way to kick everything off. And then from that point, we've just grown ever since.
Yeah, totally. So like that's a crazy first performance. What was
Isn't
that
it?
like?
The first performance was wild. So at that point, I had just picked up guitar and piano, and so I was just really a novice in general. And I'd gotten some comfortability singing in front of people just through leading worship at my campuses my campus's like Christian events and stuff. And so I thought, I'll have enough confidence to hop up there. But when there are 3,000 people looking at you, definitely can get intense. And I think that I, in that moment, knew I was in the right spot because I didn't feel any nerves at all. And I really made very few mistakes in general, especially for a first performance. Um, and I'm sure, I know looking back at the videos, I mean, your first
There
performance
were
is never
some.
amazing. Yes, it's
Yeah.
not quite as amazing as I make it out to be in my head, but it felt great and it left me and left the crowd with a really good impression. And then we were able to sell out a bunch of shows after that and kind of leverage the audience that we made.
Yeah, awesome. And so going off of that, like maybe it's about performing live or anything else, but what tips would you give to like a new artist coming up?
Totally. I mean, I think doing something like just recognizing who is doing what you want to do and see what you can learn from them and just like buy them coffee, buy them lunch and say, "Hey, can I like learn from you?" That's something that has taken me a really long way. I think another piece of advice would be to just follow up, follow up, follow up. Like 90% of the shows that I've been a part of have come from me just incessantly hitting up an agent or a manager or a band saying, "We can do this, we can do this. Like I'll bring people and it'll be fun and all that." And it's worked. So I think never being afraid of the follow up, but obviously there's a level of maturity to know like when to stop. But I mean, for instance, we have a show in DC in the fall, and I had to follow up 12 times in order to get the venue to answer. And then we got it, and we're going to sell it out, like for sure. You just kind of need to keep pushing sometimes because the reason that most people quit is that most people quit.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's like so simple, but it's right there and like
Mhm.
really explains it when you think about it. Um,
Mhm.
and it seems like pretty early on, even from the start, you were performing with like a band or like other people as well. So what made you keep the name Adam Paddock rather than like coming up with like a
Yeah.
band name?
Totally. A lot of people ask that, and we've like contemplated rebranding at some point, but right now we're sticking with just the name. I've done a handful of acoustic stuff, and I'll do a lot of college shows that are acoustic, but I try to prioritize the Adam Paddock product as being the band because I am best with the band. You know, they elevate me, and as every front man should be, I'm the worst musician in the band. You know, that's what they say. And they just elevate me with everybody having different backgrounds. My guitarist being like a hair metal like guitarist as his backbone, and then my drummer being like a gospel chops kind of guy, and then my trumpet player having a lot of jazz and like orchestral experience. I mean, that's kind of like how we found this product that is so much better than any of us alone. Is just sticking with the name Adam Paddock because in Columbus in Ohio, it's definitely carrying some weight. And now we're just going to continue to grow with that. And I mean, we all try to drop our egos and give everybody else all the praise. Um, and I think that's a really healthy way to go about having a band.
Yeah, totally. And you mentioned with like being incessant or following up and things like that. Has there been any moment that like really got you down or made you like second guess the follow up or second guess music in general?
Good question. Good question. I would say um, that's a funny one. The one time that I counted all of the unread email or all the emails that I've sent and didn't get responses to, that was a moment where I was like, dang, wow. It's really like a 5% response rate, but that
Yeah.
5% has taken me so, so far, you know? So I think that was a moment that I definitely got down, but then I managed to shift my paradigm a little bit and realize it's so much bigger than just that. And I mean, the optics of it appear that our band is doing very well, but it takes a lot of
Yeah.
incessant follow
Well,
up.
and it's also important to look at the 5% responses rather than the 95% not responses. And like I definitely had a similar moment with like this podcast. Um And it's like this is my first year being a college student, and like last year, I was like trying to like see how I should pitch like that I run a podcast and things like that. And I was like, maybe I should talk to like the amount of artists I've reached out to. And I went in my email inbox and like looked at this many, and I knew in my head like, okay, I've talked to this many artists, and like just saw this giant database of like all these unreplied emails, and I was like, okay, the
Yeah,
percentage is
dang.
not where I want it to be, but it's working so far.
Yeah, it's a matter of time. I mean, you're over like 100 podcast episodes, right? I was looking
Yeah,
up
yeah, no,
the
it's
numbers. That's
insane.
awesome. Good for you, man. Congrats.
Because and it's like honestly for me it's like two positives because it's like yes, as much as I would like to grow this podcast, have it take off, things like that, like maybe not in the record it doing on Zoom whatnot, but off camera, off like without monetizing it out, there have been times where I just sit down with like artists and like talk to them and try to get feedback, advice, things like that, which is what I do here. So it's like
Mm.
anyways, I'm getting value from whoever I talk to, and the only difference is that I'm just sharing that value with others.
Yeah, dude, I love that you're doing it. I'm not a huge podcast guy in general, but seeing the videos on Spotify, I was like sick. I know that at least was a really big deal at one point, and it still feels like a big deal to me that you have this and you're sharing it this way, man. And it's cool that you're asking these questions. I can tell that this is not your first rodeo.
Thanks. Thanks.
Hey, it's Heroek, and this episode is sponsored by me. Well, kind of. If you don't know, I recently started a clothing line called Quest Clothing, which you can shop right now. I'll leave some pictures here on the screen, but we got the core collection, which is just this sleek black and white design on a bunch of products, and then we also have some more like merch style stuff with cover arts for my songs and things like that. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and I'm really excited that I now have it, and so expect a lot more collections, a lot more designs coming out soon. I'll leave a link to it down below, and if you want to stay up to date with any new releases or anything like that, follow at Shop Quest Clothing on Instagram. So go get cool designs like this, or even this, and you'll be helping me support all of this, the podcast, the music, everything. Plus, it just looks cool. We even got this nice big letter design on the back. Look at that. Look how cool that looks. So head to the link in the description to get yourself some Quest clothing, and make sure to follow at Shop Quest Clothing on Instagram for updates with new collections and stuff like that. And now, back to the episode.
So with the band, with everyone that you work with, when you're coming up with a new song, what does that look like? Who usually brings up the idea, things like that?
Yeah, totally. So to this point, I've produced almost everything up until this recent album that we're rolling out right now. So we have, I mean, prior to this album, we had like 48 songs out, and I had produced almost all of them, other than the collaborations. And so generally, the ideas or the songs come from something that I'm writing about, and then I will take it to the band and I'll say, "Hey guys, here's a really crappy idea. Let's make it so much better." You know? And usually that means taking it to Max. So my band members are Max, Lou, Adrian Oliver, and Kaylin Quigley. And we just kind of all have this sound finally that we're promoting through Sweet Ohio Light Part 1, which is like the first installment of our album, the first 5 songs. And then we have a second part coming out in the fall, and then a third part kind of like as a deluxe part to the album, either at the very end of this year or beginning of next, and tours to follow. So I mean, creating the songs though, now I've moved away from producing and handing it all to Max. So my guitarist is taking a lot of that burden because he has a lot of music theory knowledge that I lack, and so I'll generally now write the songs in full. Then he will work with me to like kind of workshop and restructure it and change the chords to be a little bit more compelling, and yeah, just edit some melodies, and then we embark upon production. And since everyone's on their A game, we're able to record really quickly. So, yeah, we've done it all in college dorms up until this point.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, no, that's like that's something that's been fun for me to get used to this year is like I had my own room back home and I would just like produce things, meet people online, things like that. And now it's like I'm having people over and we're like huddled around this small desk to like, make something.
Right.
And
Yeah,
it's fun with like what results you can get with like how such a not little, but like a minimalist setup. Like you don't need
for
to
sure.
go into like a huge studio or anything.
Preach, man. Absolutely. I mean, I've just got 2 little monitors to the side of this, an interface, and a handful of cables, with my closet being a mic booth or a vocal booth. and we like record the drums in the living room and guitar just straight into the computer generally, and bass the same way, and horns in the vocal booth. So it's nothing like a multi-million dollar studio. And
Yeah.
I think you can feel that in the character of the songs, that there's a lot of integrity in them. So that's the goal, at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah, awesome. And with like having, whether it's intentional or not, like similar sounds to astronomers and 502s, is there like any bands or artists you're specifically like taking inspiration from, or is it just sort of coming naturally for you?
Yeah, totally. So our biggest inspirations generally are the Killers and Coldplay. So we love that big arena pop rock kind of stuff where when we get to play big shows and we make big like bridges that are kind of anthemic, that's kind of where our wheelhouse is. And so those are some big inspirations. Right now in this current moment, Sam Fender is a huge inspiration. Um, who else? Jeremy Zucker is a big one. Blake Rose. So a lot of these indie pop, alternative pop guys are influencing our sound right now. But I think more than ever, we've found our own situation going on with the four piece that we are, that feels like a specific thing that is actually existing outside of some of the things that we used to kind of just rip off, when you're like a younger artist and you're like, oh, I love that guitar tone. We're going to get that exact guitar tone. Or like, oh, the way this bridge is structured, we love that. So we'll rip it off. Now we're kind of getting to the point where we know each other's strengths to the level of being able to have truly original song structures, chord progressions, meanings, and ways to incorporate it into a live show. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Yeah, no, like it's definitely, I think, levels to it. Like you can start off doing that like sort of copy and paste thing, and
mhm.
then you like slowly get more and more into original and stuff like that. And some like a very helpful piece of advice I just got, which I hadn't really been doing in general, is uh using reference tracks. So like
Mhm.
literally in whatever DAW you use, like just take the WAV file of a song you like and slap it in there. And rather than be like, I like this, like you said, guitar tone and try to get that exact one, just literally mark like the intro is this long, the verse is this long, and like use that as a guideline for your song. And now, even though you haven't recorded a single thing, you have a structure of how
Yeah.
it's going to look.
Preach. I love doing it that way. Another good piece of advice though that I got was, if you can't play it on an acoustic instrument, then it's not worth recording. Which, that's a hot take. That's a hot take. But if you can't understand the song enough to play it in some regard on something, which is weird in this day and age where we have a lot of people who just produce and don't play a lot of instruments outside of this, like outside of their DAW. But that was an interesting take that I heard the other day, saying like, if you cannot sit down and play your top 10 on acoustic or piano, then you're not doing it right. And that was
Mhm.
very interesting to me. I don't know how much I fully subscribe to that, but it was an interesting thought. So I don't know. I do like a good reference track for sure, but another thing that I try when I'm making songs is I will take a song that's really difficult, and I will only learn it. I'll listen to it one or two times, watch a YouTube video just straight through, or maybe double time, and I'll only half learn it, and then I will have to make up the rest, and I'll take it into a new song, and then I'll like write a new song from that. So it's basically, it's a foolproof method of, I know I love this song by Blake Rose, why don't I half learn the guitar picking, and then I will come up with a different melody to like finish the second half of the phrase. Boom, that's a completely new song, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and it sounds different enough that it doesn't like you would never guess that it's coming from Blake Rose or another
Yeah,
artist. Um,
never.
yeah, awesome. And from what you've released so far, is there a song that has sort of defied your expectations? So like how it performed, like either took off and is doing better, or you were really excited for and just sort of like flopped?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, totally have had both. To be real, I think that my whole perspective of what streaming looks like and the success and failures of it is so relative, and I take so much less of an ego hit when things don't do well, and I take less of an ego rise when things do well. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I think that I have so much more stock in the live in the live game. We make concerts that people remember and want to see again. And it's all based around the music that's great. And the streams are going to follow, the people are going to find it. We have like a strong fan base that listens all the time. So, like the whatever 15,000 monthly listeners that we have, those aren't casual listeners, those are people dedicated, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like I had broken like the two remixes that did well because of TikTok. That was kind of annoying. I was like, these are remixes. They're not even like my song, but regardless, I love them. We love playing them live. They're really high energy. And most of the other stuff has underperformed to the point where I'm like, wow, this is all so much better than it's been given credit for. But I know it's a matter of time that we're building a really strong back catalog that as soon as something really takes off online, then we're going to be in a great shape for everyone to go back and look and find all this amazing music that we have. You know, we're
Yeah.
not building a weak backbone.
No, you're definitely growing and like at a good rate. And honestly from like a listener standpoint, I appreciate what you said of like we focus on the live or like crushing the live rather than like trying to put out as many songs to streaming as possible because it is the sort of thing of like I've gone to concerts that I absolutely love and I had a fantastic time. And the minute they announce another tour, I'm trying to get tickets and concerts where I went and it was like, that was cool, but like I'm satisfied there and I'm not and I'm not like gonna go to again anytime soon. And
Yeah.
so it's like I think there's something about like a live concert or just live events in general that's so cool and that can't really be
Hmm.
replicated in general, but especially with like streaming and stuff like
Yeah, dude,
that.
we're trying like specifically with Sweet Ohio Light, we're trying to do only live instruments for everything. Like
Yeah.
we'll build out some like string parts per se in just MIDI, but then we'll hire somebody else to do something acoustic and something real where it feels tactile, like on Sweet Ohio Light, the album track. We had this honestly really good VST, like really good MIDI patch for a cello, and we decided, all right, I'm going to hire somebody. But we all got so married to it in our ears of, oh, this is how it needs to sound, like this VST. But it just sounded so perfect. And then now, if you listen to the real thing, I mean, the strings sound incredible, but you can feel how there's more humanness to it. Do you know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
humanity in each tiny difference of every string. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
VSTs, you don't get that. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting that like you like even if it's not perfect or even if there's like at times a literal mistake in there somewhere, it's like almost better to have the human or having the human makes it better. Like
Hmm.
I know the astronomers like them a lot. I don't know about you, but AJR, I really
Yeah.
like Ryan who does the production for them and like listening to him. And he'll have like four tracks of like MIDI horns and stuff, but then one that's like an actual horn playing the
Yeah,
same
dude.
thing. And it's like
Mm.
even just that combination gives it like a super subtle difference of like it sounds more real and more human.
I agree. It'll sound too much like AI music if we just do all MIDI, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, if you're like me and you're interested in the YouTube or creator space, you should check out The Published Press. The Published Press is a completely free newsletter founded by YouTubers Colin and Samir. They host their own podcast talking to some of YouTube's largest creators. They've edited some of the best content I've seen on YouTube, and now they're sharing their knowledge about the YouTube space with you for free. The Published Press comes out 3 times a week every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with everything going on with your favorite creators and platforms. And like I said, it's completely free. Just enter your email address to receive the Published Press whenever it comes out, and that's it. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below, sign up to the Published Press, and get all the info you need on the industry.
You mentioned TikTok and like the remixes and everything. How do you feel in general about like social media and music today?
Yeah, great question. I'm so tired of it, to be real. This is probably not the answer that I should give, but like, man, I miss the days where artists could be artists, and I never even lived in those days. 95% of what I do is business and social media. 5% of what I do is performing and writing music, you know? So I mean, it's been cool to grow like a fan base on TikTok, but like I am in favor of the ban selfishly. Like I think that if anything, it's contributing to brain rot, and it's sucking the soul out of a lot of artists. And I know there's a great migration happening over to Instagram, but that algorithm, I still feel like there's some figuring out to be done where people are still learning how to crack that, in the way that we saw earlier with TikTok. So I think it's awesome that we have such reach. Like I know way more people have heard my music in the world, this way, like in this social media era, than the alternative. Like it would have been the radio stations that would have
Yeah.
cared enough, but it would have started with family and friends, right? And most people would have been stuck there and have been in the past. So I think that I have a very love-hate relationship with it, and right now I'm experiencing a little bit of burnout, and I hate it.
Yeah. No, no, it's definitely the thing of like I have never like put an emphasis on it, and sort of like you have gotten this like almost like tired of it feeling towards it. Like I kept, especially for this, like trying to find someone or something to help like make short form clips of this podcast, or even doing it myself, which would take even longer. And at some point I was like, honestly, if there's not like someone who like offering it to me, I
Mhm.
probably am just gonna pass on it for now and focus on
Yeah,
like getting the actual episodes done, because it was literally to the point of I would like spend as much, if not more time trying to make short form than I would on the actual episode,
yeah,
which is ridiculous. And it's with like Instagram, it's like, yeah, I'm sure people are still gonna be doing their thing over there, but at least for me, the way I view it is like TikTok had something special in the discovery aspect. It was like every time I heard someone talking about this like years ago when TikTok first got popular, but like the thing they aced was every time I'm opening that up, there's someone I've never seen before, or a music band
mm,
artist that I've never seen before. And Instagram, at least in my eyes, they're trying to get more like with Instagram Reels and stuff, they're trying to get more discovery. But for me, it's like if there's someone I already like or already follow, I just connect with them more, or like stay in better touch, which is like I'm sure there are going to be artists trying to basically just take their TikTok ideas or content and move over to Instagram with it, but I it's definitely something that's like a second thought for me.
yeah. I totally understand it. It's like TikTok is to find, Instagram is to invest. It's different that way, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And so if there's someone listening who maybe there's someone who hasn't heard these remixes on TikTok but want to get into your music, what songs would you recommend as like an intro to Adam Paddock?
Yeah, man. I feel like our songs sometimes can be hard to digest right off the bat because we'll go 5 minutes, like we'll go a minute and a half instrumental section. Like it takes a specific type of listener, and we're really thankful for the ones that we have. I would say the right songs to go in to get your palate cleansed, or not cleansed, to I don't know, satiate your palate just enough, would be listening to Sweet Ohio Light. It's very representative, and if you like that, you're gonna like the whole range of our discography. Sweet Ohio Light, I would say Authentic, which is an old one. I would say Count on It, Space to Grow, and maybe Golden Eyes. So two really deep cuts in there, three newer ones. I think those five will give you an idea of, if you like this range, you're gonna like everything, because that was the point of us. Like the first single for Sweet Ohio Light was our most upbeat kind of rock and roll type single. Our second one was as acoustic as it can get, and it's 5.5 minutes. First one, radio. Second one, for the actual fans and the people that and the art we want to make. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
and then
totally.
everything will live in between.
And for you specifically, or at least like taking into account the sound of the band, is there another band or artist that you would love to collaborate with?
Well, Jon Bellion is absolutely the number one for me. I feel like you might understand some of that love in
Yeah,
Edward.
absolutely.
Yeah, he's like number one. But I think as the band has developed, a Jon Bellion influence wouldn't be as beneficial for us as somebody like a Rick Rubin, who's worked more with like artists or worked more with bands as well. Um, I could see us doing well with like a Ryan Tedder, who, I mean, Jon Bellion he understands bands as well, but I
Yeah,
think the direction
definitely.
we're going is more bandy. So I think those would be some dream collaborations on the back end. And on the front end, I think we're finding like people I'd actually like to collaborate with. I just want to put out more songs with my friends because I think building the bedrock on really pure intentions and relationships that existed prior to anything going well or not is a really healthy way to build something.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And no, Jon Bellion, I absolutely get because I remember probably about a year ago now, I listened like all the way through The Human Condition, and that was like insane. And you have things like All Time Low, like Morning in America, that
Mhm.
immediately when I heard it, it was like insane. And then I got into like a little deep dive of like everything he's written on, and I'm like, this is insane. Like all these hits that like you don't at first know that he's been a part of, but he's a writer on
Yeah.
all of them, and it's crazy.
1000%. One of my favorite examples of that is the album that he co-produced and wrote on a lot of the tracks for Justin Bieber. And me and my girlfriend would go through, and like before we knew which songs were done by who, it was our goal to figure out which ones did he work on. And we got most of them right. Because, I mean, his songwriting style is so unique. And I think that it might not work in terms of the direction we're going as a band, but he will always be the first inspiration from a production standpoint for me.
Awesome. And looking back on like all the live experience you have, is there one show in particular that's your favorite so far that really sticks in your mind?
Great question. So every time we play Columbus, Ohio, which is our hometown, or like our base per se, that's always so special because everyone knows every word to every song. Like that's so rare
Yeah.
to me, and such a wild feeling. And I know last year we sold 874 tickets for our headliner, which is bonkers. And that was amazing. So that one stands out really strongly because it also was the first time we played the Newport Music Hall, which is one of the most iconic venues in America. It's the oldest rock house in the U.S. Um, and getting to headline that was super special. And now I've built a festival there, and so that's kind of become our like venue home, which is so sick. And then there have been some really special college shows where we've just played colleges for 20, 30 people, and they've been really special ones. But it's hard to forget that first tour we did in like my family friends' backyards. It was like we did such not a horrible job, but we did as well as we could for the time. Looking back, it was far from professional. But that without that, we couldn't be doing what we're doing right now.
Yeah, awesome. And looking forward, is there like a bucket list of venues that you want to play out one day?
Oh, I mean, another one that I have to mention that I did play that I loved was House of Blues in Chicago. That was amazing. Um, and I think that was like a top three bucket list already. We got to
Yeah,
open up the King's Kaleidoscope there, which was so insane. If you don't know King's Kaleidoscope's music, you should because Jon Bellion has had them open for a bunch of his shows and Lawrence and like all of them. So definitely worth
awesome.
it.
Yeah,
But bucket list venues. I think Red Rocks is a huge one for me, and also the Gorge up in Washington are the two that I would love to do because we've had very few outside big venue opportunities other than opening for Waka Flocka, and I would love to play one of those.
I
Or
was about to say a very like natural or like outdoorsy like bucket list for venues is like it's really cool. I don't think I've been to like a big outdoor concert like that or a festival or anything, but I'm sure it's so awesome in person and things like that because it's like already being in arenas is super cool, but it's like that with like a cooler backdrop
yeah,
behind it.
it's
Like
just way better. I mean, I think we haven't done arenas. I've sang the national anthem in arena, so I feel like I know how it works sound wise. But like outdoor, we've done outdoor festivals, and it's just something so much more special when you just kind of see the bodies just keep going, you know, instead of like, I mean, it's insane to see 20,000 bodies in one room, but it ends right there versus going like all the way into the sun, you know. That's a totally different thing. That's why those two are on my bucket list for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Have you played the or sung the national anthem in arenas?
So random. I have sang the national anthem a few times. I did it at the Columbus Crew, which is a professional soccer team. That was actually in a stadium, which was really cool. So it was like even bigger, bonkers. That was one of my first ones. I sang the national anthem in an arena in for the NCAA Women's Division One semifinals on ESPN. So that's random.
Awesome.
So that was an arena. Um, and a couple other just like really like obscure ones. Those were by far the two
Yeah,
most notable.
the big ones.
I was offered to sing the national anthem at the Savannah Bananas game. Do you know who that is? Yeah,
Yeah.
but I can't. We have a show that day already, and
Darn.
it just killed me because I was like, oh, I would love to do that.
You could get real creative with that one.
I'm saying, man, I'm saying. So yeah, that's some random side quests I've done. Yeah,
Savannah Bananas. We gotta make it work someday.
yeah, man. They gotta if they see this podcast, please reach out to me again because I wasn't free. I'm not free that day, but I would
But you still want to do it. You want to do it.
reach. Yeah,
And
man.
like sort of to start wrapping things up, is there a song, because I know you've been making music for a while, is there a song that sort of you made with like you were like this is what it means, blah blah blah, and over time have sort of found new meaning for, or like attached new memories to?
Dude, I love that question. That's so sick. I think that song for me is called Tattoos. Nobody knows it. I literally released it on Christmas Eve. Nobody cared. Like they were occupied with family things as they should have been. But the super fans were very invested in that song and really love it. And so that song went from kind of like a throwaway, all right, I'll just like put it out to put it out because that first year of making music was just a lot of experimentation.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that song has taken on a life of its own where if I ever say, all right, what song do you want to hear at a show? The entire front couple rows are going to be yelling for Tattoos. And do I think it's my best song? No. Do I think it's a wildly deep song? No. But there's something about it that just really connects with the audience. And when they connect, I connect. So
I think it's just that authenticity. It's exactly what you said. Like you weren't expecting anything to come of it. It wasn't like a big commercial hit. It was just, hey, I'm trying things out, experimenting, and I wanted to do this. And so
totally. It's the simplest song I've ever written by far. And people love it for some reason. Like the chorus is literally so simple. But I think that there's some beauty to that, you know?
yeah, yeah, awesome. Well, I know a little before we started this, you told me you were listening to other episodes, so this may be familiar to you, but I wanted to end with a segment called Know Your Stuff, where I'm just gonna do like a quick, almost like a game show type of quiz for you. Just play some quick snippets of your songs and see if you can name them first of all, and then just give us any like additional stories or background to them.
That's so fun. Let's go, bro.
Awesome. Here we go.
Oh, that's a freaking throwback. Wow, that's Brightly, isn't it? Wait, uh, is it? No, wait. What? That's not
That
Brightly.
no, that was Mona Lisa.
Mona Lisa. Oh my God. That's a crazy one to pull up because we've never played it live. My band loves that song, but we've just never gotten around to it. Oh my God, I forgot about that song completely. That was part of an EP that I produced with Max, actually, right when he became my resident. Actually, the way we met was I was his RA. Wow, Mona Lisa. Oh my God. And yeah, that was part of a little 4-song EP called Lovely Stranger that we put together. Man, I guess I don't
That's
know my stuff. Gosh.
it's fine. I mean, from all the like deep cuts and stuff you've referenced throughout the show, you definitely still know your stuff. It's just, you know, it was a hard one to start off with. I should have given you a nice like softball to start
No,
things
no,
off.
I love this. I love this. Give me the deep cuts,
And
bro. Let's go.
yeah, it's crazy that you were his RA, because like everyone I've met and worked with here is just like friends in my grade, and like knowing who my RAs were, like I couldn't imagine doing anything like music related with them or anything
Yeah,
like
right.
this.
It was a weird relationship at first, and then I realized he's a freak of nature, and he said he liked my voice, and I said, okay, I guess we'll do this. So it works.
Yeah.
He's
All right,
great.
yeah. Well, here's the next one.
Whoa. That was the first song I ever wrote. Song's called Outside. I still play that on acoustic sets on occasion. I love that
Yeah,
song.
I'm sure that is so like such a good sound on acoustic,
Oh yeah,
especially
man.
live.
Oh, I wrote that in my backyard or like on my back patio in my dad's house during COVID. And it was the first time I ever tried to write a song, and it went pretty well, I think. I regret not holding on to that one to just make better production choices because I mean it really is so simple, and that was the first thing I ever did in Logic was that song. Um, and I mean it's not the worst product for that, but
No,
yeah,
but it's funny because like you say like during COVID like back patio, and I almost like hear that, or it's that sort of vibe. Like I imagine you just like sitting on a back porch like with that guitar like strumming it out and things.
yeah,
And
I
so
mean
it
those birds you hear are from my backyard.
oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so it definitely fits the story behind it. And then the last one I have for you is
Please. Love this song. Love this song. It's called You're Here Now. That's one of my favorite live. People just jump around to it. It's got good vibes. I wrote that right after we opened for Judah and the Lion, and I just tried to bring some of their really hype energy and some of the more electronic elements of theirs into that song. And we play that at most of our shows these days. So um, if you are coming to a show on fall tour, please know that song as well as all the new stuff, obviously. But yeah,
yeah,
I love that
yeah.
song. I love this segment too.
Yeah, well, I'm loved having you on. So thank you so much for coming on. It was a great chat and great time. You definitely like gave me some things to think about, and just in terms of like live performance and things like that. And it's been cool because I feel like nowadays you don't see like back a couple years, couple decades ago, I feel like it was pretty common to like have an artist name, and like almost secretly there were a bunch of people behind
Mm,
it. But I feel like it's not that common now to have like a band that just goes by like one name. And
mm.
so it was definitely like a refreshing perspective and super cool.
Thank you, man. I'm only as good as they are, and the product is only going to get better as we continue to work and play together. So I really appreciate the love, man. And for anybody listening, if you want to come to any shows on our fall tour, we're going from July to the end of October, kind of all over the US, outside of the markets that we've already hit this spring. So yeah, man, I really appreciate your time. This is sick.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'll definitely try to see if I can make it to one of those shows on the tour, as everyone listening should. And is there anything else you want to shout out or promote before we head out?
No, man. I mean, Sweet Ohio Light is our debut album rolling out after putting out so many countless singles and small EPs. So if you liked what you heard, please jump in, take a listen. Let me know what you think. Shoot me a DM. Tell me you came from this podcast, and would love to chat.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you again so much for coming on, and I can't wait to hear the other two EPs or parts of the Sprite Ohio Light.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you, dude.